The OKC Thunder are heading to the NBA Finals. Boy, oh boy, did they come out and gain of a foul and put the foot on the throat. They showed a graphic at one point in this game, and it said the Minnesota Timberwolves had 15 made field goals and 15 damn turnovers to match. Talk about a legendary defense, and we've been talking about it forever, but damn, this is one of them things. And we've also mentioned how home court advantage hasn't really mattered much in the postseason. Yeah, it has. Just in OKC. The Garden don't really get that level of pop and win or energy from the team to match the crowd. No other place has really done that except for OKC, where they now have only lost one playoff game this entire run. This team is ridiculous, and we've been saying it, we've been preaching it, but even then, there were so many skeptics, there were so many people that had question marks, and some of them were real question marks that I can't look past, but I feel like they've answered almost every single one of them, and they are 4 games away from potentially raising the Larry O'Brien trophy. We got to talk about it, but I do got bills, and in order to pay those bills, let me run this ad for you. Stay tuned.
This video is brought to you by Mando. Mando is the real deal when it comes to smelling well. I'm always trying to be conscious about what I put on my body, and having the right deodorant is pretty essential, right? Mando is vegan, free of dyes, cruelty-free, has no parabens, and no sulfates. And it is long-lasting. It gives you up to 72 hours of odor control. You do got the traditional whole body deodorant, which is for pits, packages, and feet. I'll say that again. You also get the body wash. You get the deodorant in a cream form. You get a spray form. But my favorite of them all is the deodorant wipes. I keep these in the car. I keep them in the gym bag. This is a real essential. You never really know when you're gonna break into a sweat and you need to just freshen up. And Mando hooked me up, which means that I get to hook y'all up. If you hit the link in the description and go to shopmando.com and use code Kenny, you can get $5 off your starter pack. And I want to tell you, that is basically over 40% off of the starter pack. And that starter pack comes with everything that I showed you today. Shout out to Mando again for sponsoring this video.
Shout out to the Minnesota Timberwolves. I think on tomorrow's podcast, I'm going to go more in depth about what could potentially be next for them. But it definitely felt like they came out into this game with the idea that this is where the series ends. You think about last game with them being this close to pulling off, and tying up the series 2-2 with Nikhil, Jaden, and Dante all having big performances, but Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle not coming along for the ride. I can understand how that will be demoralizing, and you had to come 2 days later to OKC to try to get the spirit back up. I don't think they were able to do that. So, again, I think I'm going to talk about them more tomorrow because I do want to spend more of the time shining light on the Oklahoma City Thunder because they've been able to do and be as good as I anticipated. They just tweeted me a clip of me talking about the OKC Thunder before the season started. We're talking about preseason. And my exact quote was, I like almost everything about the OKC Thunder. My first thing was like my finals prediction was Thunders versus Celtics. Obviously, the Celtics didn't get there. But the Thunder thing I felt pretty damn good about, even though the Western Conference is that insane, right? They had pretty much answered all of the questions, at least in my mind, going into this season. You think about them going back to their series against Dallas last year, they were missing three-point shooting, and they didn't really address that. They're actually on pace to be one of the worst three-point shooting teams to win a championship if they do end up winning a championship, which is some interesting stuff. I think they'd be bottom 3 since 2000, if I'm not mistaken. But the three-point shooter was a thing. The rebounder was a thing. And the biggest question was, could their number 2 guy be a number 2 guy? Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been the number 1 guy in like 2 playoff runs at this point, and he has been as consistent as ever. Whether you like watching, you hate watching, you think he has a great whistle, whatever, you have to admit that this guy is good to give his team 30 a night regardless of what coverage you throw at him. I mean, you do have the anomalies like in game number 3 that was where he had 14 points or whatever, but more times than not, he's giving you 30 points, and he's doing it effectively. So the question turned into, will Dub be ready? And I thought that last year there were many times in the Dallas Mavericks series where his team desperately needed him to look like a number 2, but he wasn't necessarily ready for it. Last series, for 6 games, we were like, damn, this could be it for OKC because Dub is shooting 30% from the field. He's shooting 22% from 3, and they really need something like that. They need him to step up because Chet Holmgren wasn't playing as good as he can play either. And then game number 7, J-Dub answered every question you could possibly ask about him. When you look back at his stat line overall through that series, it won't tell the full story about him being, really bad for 5 of 6 games, because he did have the 30-point game in there, and then him having that game number 7. But since that game number 7, J-Dub has been basically all of the accolades that he has accomplished for the regular season. He has now carried those over for the postseason, with him being an all-star, with him being an all-defensive player, and with him being an all-NBA player. You're seeing it. You saw it for the entirety of this series. The rebounding aspect, I don't know if I remember over the last 3 series between Memphis, Denver, and then Minnesota, if I cared about the other team crashing the offensive glass like we saw them get toe up at in the regular season and in the postseason last year. Sam Presti went into this offseason and said, hey, we need a big. Isaiah Hartenstein's had a great run for the Knicks. Let's overpay him for his value, but we can afford to do that right now. There's a team that's thirsty to give up an all-defensive caliber player in Alex Caruso. Let's just give them a scrap player that we don't even like ourselves. And Josh Giddey, I think you could still be great. I don't know. They did everything right. And one thing people I remember is that they've been able to draft so fucking well in the Sam Presti era. Obviously, you got the Alexei Pokusevskis and the Ousmane Dieng picks occasionally. But outside of that, Chet and J-Dub were the same draft class, wasn't it? Pick number 2 and pick number 12, pick number 11 or something like that. This year, they drafted A.J. Mitchell, who, is a real ball player as a rookie. And I can imagine how good he could be as a role player next year. And then they got the dude in Nikola Topic, who was a top 5 protected pick before he got injured. He's just chilling. This team is poised to do we talk about it being a parity era. I don't want to act like just because they're in the finals right now, that means that next year they're going to make it. Next year they're going to win. But because they still have to win 4 more games for even to have the conversation about them winning this year. But they are more equipped than any of the previous champions to do it again. They are more equipped. I'm going to say it again. They are more equipped to do it again more than any other recent champion. And that is insane to say. Because as good as Chet Holmgren is right now, think about this. As good as Chet Holmgren is right now, and he's damn good. He's already one of the best defensive players in the league, and he is probably the worst he'll ever be. He's in the finals. What? Come on, man. Nobody loves an open 3 more when they're up by 40 than Lou Dort at home. I can't sing the praises. And, people have called me a Thunder Glazer this entire season. But the reality is I just saw this team, as many people did. I'm not on the island by myself. Majority of people looked at this OKC team, what they did last year as being a 1 seed, and they can carry that over and get better. But I just saw them as a team that was so well equipped to pretty much answer any question the team threw at them. And so far, we're seeing that to be true. And they're 4 games away. They're 4 fucking games away from winning the NBA championship. And they would be one of the youngest teams to do it. That's nuts. And it made me think, is this team the anomaly, right? You think about, teams having the average age of being 28 to 34, where they're real rotation players when it comes to NBA championships. Is this team the anomaly, or as a part of it being the parity era, if you will, or this new age, will we see more teams be relatively young and win early? I came to the conclusion this is an anomaly team. They have an all-time guy in Shea. Call it what you want. He's an all-time guy. I know, again, people don't like him, whatever. He is an all-time player already. They have an all-time kind of defender in Chet, and it's very early on, so I'm projecting here, but there's a world where Chet stays healthy for 10 years. He's a 10-time all-defensive player. And Dub's amazing as well. And for them to have the Casons off the bench, it's just, I don't know. They're going to the finals. And in this game, we did, obviously you can tell I'm not at home. Can you tell that? We shot our episode of our TV show tonight, so we all watched this game together. And we got notebooks, I got my phone taking the notes because I don't bring the notebook out of the house. And by the 3rd minute, I stopped taking notes because we kind of looked at each other and said, yeah, this is it, right? We could talk schematically, but why? Because this is it. When you force a team to have 4 turnovers in the first 2 minutes, you know what I'm saying? They've been able to put their foot on throats and close out these games. And I think that is very important for a young team. And now they're about to go into a series, again, probably versus the Pacers. And I think this could be a really good matchup because there has not been a team just yet, and maybe this changes, that their lead guard has been able to say, I had a good series against this defense. And again, I'm talking about this version of defense, not last year's version of defense. Whether it be Ja, who said he was figuring it out, but whether it be Ja, whether it be Jamal Murray I think he had one really good game in that series, whether it be Jamal Murray or Anthony Edwards, none of these guys have been able to penetrate this defense. And obviously, the head of their snake in Indiana is Tyrese Halliburton, who is a different kind of guard than the guys that I mentioned. So I wonder if, again, I'm projecting because that series still ain't closed, and I'm going to have a week to think about this if they close out the game tomorrow. I wonder if the play style of Tyrese Halliburton being different than what Anthony Edwards does or what John Morant does or what Jamal Murray does, if that shifts some things from OKC. I'm not completely sure. OKC was completely okay with giving up corner threes this entire series. And Aaron Nesmith shooting 50% from three. I don't know if you want to get that one up. So I don't know. I'm leaning very, very heavy OKC, but I think it could be very interesting. Quickly, because I have not been on Twitter, but I can recognize that the conversation around the Minnesota Timberwolves are going to be widely negative. And again, I'm going to do a deep dive about this on the podcast. I don't know a world where they could do some things this offseason where they would be better than this OKC team. Let me say that. But also, I don't think that they should be over panicking about losing to a potentially historic team. It feels very similar to what I said with the last series versus Denver, especially seeing how OKC took care of business in this series. That like maybe Denver is closer than we all anticipated, right, with them taking them to 7. I think that Minnesota is still a really good team. And if you told me this was a conference finals rematch next year, I wouldn't call you crazy. So I don't know exactly what they would do, but I don't think they should hold their head low because they lost this series, because I genuinely do believe that OKC was just that much better than the competition in the Western Conference. So, yeah, NBA Finals. Here they come.